Hey, how's it going guys? This is ZDEyE here. So today I wanted to give you my review of Resident Evil Village. Now I know it's been already a couple of days since the game's release and a lot of reviewers already gave their own opinion and the results of the game. And so far, as to my knowledge and to my understanding, the game is getting pretty positive reviews. Personally for me, yes, this game is really good, and of course there are some downfalls with the game. Oh, you know what, I'm gonna get into those as well, like pros and cons and stuff like that. So I want to mention first things first, obviously the beauty and the atmosphere of this game. It really does its justice in a very best possible ways, right? This definitely feels like a Resident Evil game, not one of those such as the Resident Evil 5 or 6, a complete dumpster fire in a lot of ways. Personally for me, Resident Evil 7 was up there to the list of being scary, great damn games. Resident Evil 2 Remake is my favorite of all the Resident Evils that are, the newer versions I'm talking about, of course. Resident Evil 2 is definitely my favorite one, and because of the third person perspective, I definitely rather third person. Now Resident Evil 3, well that was just, it was a disappointment in a lot of ways, and it truly is. But the gameplay still was a very good game. In that way, of course. Okay, so Resident Evil 8, or of course Capcom likes to refer to as the Resident Evil Village, now it's actually a step up compared to the Resident Evil 7 in a lot of ways, but also it is not. A lot of things I would even consider saying, why did you implement this feature into this game? And I'm gonna get into that, especially considering how the game ends. So, a lot of things, and this is a negative part, I'm not too sure if I actually particularly really liked the last part of the game. It was just completely action-packed, it became, and I'm not too sure why that was a really decision to make. Maybe just to make it, overblown to the top and just making sure that the game is just very, always into the high degree, and so people will be like, oh, this is so awesome, and stuff like that, so it wouldn't be too slow. And I think that Resident Evil 7 and Resident Evil 8, well, Village, right, being slow and always conserving your ammo and always making sure that you will be able to find what is that in the corner. That's what makes it so much more appealing to me. Horror aspect and a randomness of not finding out what is there next, what happens behind that corner. This is what makes it so much intrigueness personally for me. This game kind of just goes down the hill, at least to me, like at the end of the game. But I definitely want to mention this. It did not particularly give it sour taste in my mouth. I actually did like that action-packed part at the very end of the game. Again, I'm not going to mention anything else other than that, and that's it. That's all I'm going to say. Okay, now, a lot of people's favorite, right? We have to talk about Lady D, or Dimitrescu. Again, I apologize with that pronunciation, goddamn. But yeah, she was the fan favorites. Of course, everyone wanted for her to sit down on them. And personally for me, she was never really that big appeal or whatnot, right? But she was definitely a very good character, at least in Resident Evil Village. I definitely enjoyed her presence and her acting. It was like her voice was very well done. And she was definitely like, of course, Capcom never expected Lady D to be such a big appeal for this game. And so obviously it was just a big success in terms of the marketing. But I feel like, since this is a spoiler-free review, and still the game is relatively new, a lot of people never got a chance of playing it yet, so I'm gonna leave out the part especially regarding her and how everything turns out to be, and that's actually was a disappointing part personally for me. It's just that, we don't really see her as often as I would like, and especially how it ends. Well, how it ends. Okay, that's all I'm gonna say. So I definitely want to touch on the quality of life improvements in this game. It definitely has been upped compared to the Resident Evil 7, of course I'm talking about. I love the particular thing with the when you actually pick up the weapon and you have to categorize where you want to put this weapon into this into the boxes, right? And just like I was taking the interest from the Resident Evil 4, is to my understanding, of course, and I really like that. It's just, you have to figure out where everything fits and how much it takes the slots, and so you can put it in a proper spot. I really like that. It's kind of a little puzzly, kind of a game that you need to figure out, and so it's never boring, and that's what I really like about this game. Okay, now I definitely need to touch on this. This is definitely a minus for me, but the issue is I'm not too sure if this is necessarily a bad thing, or maybe the developers intended this to be in the first place. You guys already may know this. Resident Evil 7, so goes for Resident Evil 2, 3, and this one as well. As a character, you're always constantly super slow at what you do. You always walk like a fucking snail. It's irritating. At least when, you can upgrade this, right? You can be much quicker, and it does help. But it still feels so damn slow, especially when you're running away from like somebody about to chase you down and kill you or rip you apart, and you're just taking a sweet damn time just to get out of the way. Like it's stupid. But that's just my opinion, and again, I understand maybe the developers wanted to go with this route, maybe they want to make it slower in a lot of ways. I think I understand, but also it's kind of aggravating personally for me. Okay, this is important as well, I definitely want to touch on. Resident Evil 7 was far scarier game than this, but the creepiness is still there. Like, I'm not gonna mention some certain moments, just gonna say baby, that's it. That was truly a creepy moment in this game. It's just wow. And actually that really stepped up the game and was personally my favorite moment of a whole Resident Evil Village. On the dull parts, it was just creepiness as to 100. It felt like it to me at least. But the issue is, comparing this with the scary factor from the Resident Evil 7, this is by far was not as scary as Resident Evil 7. Again, because maybe closer to action-packed, maybe the developers wanted to go with, and that's the issue. Right, at the end of the game, or at least closer to the end of the game, I felt far more powerful compared to what I was at the beginning. And I think that's actually a minus. I think that, constantly being in a moment of survival, not being overpowered is always the best part and the best route to go with these survival types of games, right? Not with the consumables you need to find around the world, blah, blah, blah. No, I'm talking about how powerful your weapons are and what exactly you get as well. And, considering this as well, right, you just simply go through these simple enemies, simple like monsters and stuff like that, like werewolves, right? You just simply pass by them because you become far more stronger, and you can actually, take more damage as well because you can upgrade that too. I feel like it kind of loses the scary factor and a warning that the game is about to kick your ass at some moments, right? I think it loses that threat at a certain point. I definitely actually like the village. The village, the way everything connects to it as well, I think is a big plus. I really like coming back to village and stuff like that, seeing new sites, seeing new places that were locked off at first, no way for you to get in. It was always, I loved this stuff in Resident Evil, at least new versions of them. And coming back and seeing these new different varieties of enemies, it kind of slowly reminded me of Dark Souls in a lot of ways. And I really appreciate that, and I actually, because this also, I want to continue exploring more things what this game has to offer. Okay, I think this may be the last thing I want to talk about is regarding Ethan, the character himself. I don't like Ethan. I never liked him in Resident Evil 7. I don't like him here in Resident Evil 8, especially the fact that Ethan himself, he's like a whiny little asshole that just keeps on whining and saying like plenty of questions, what is happening, why is this going on, and yet he just goes through, and to our understanding, because our knowledge with him, right, he's a part of this world the same as us, because obviously we're controlling him. He should be in a similar wavelength as us. He needs to figure out what is happening already. Like, why is this? Where is this? What's going on? Why is this? Like, so many whys and what and where. Just ignore the fact that and just continue doing what you're doing. Your main objective, you know what it is, and you need to figure it out, right? And there's always these moments that's just like over-the-top moments with Ethan, the way he's acted. Don't get me wrong, acting, and the guy who does the acting for Ethan, he does a fantastic job. But the issue, the way Ethan Ethan lines, that's just the main problem I actually find in this game, and I just don't like that. Again, maybe it's just my personal opinion, but the way Ethan, his lines, that's just the issue. Voice acting is great, who is doing the Ethan part, and Ethan in general is just not that interesting. In fact, I definitely want to see where Resident Evil 9 will be going with this, and because I did hear, I'm not too sure if this is real or at least maybe it was just a rumor, but this game's gonna have like a little bit of a trilogy, so like Resident Evil 7, Resident Evil 8, Resident Evil 9. I'm very curious to see where will this take the step further, and you know, how it will progress. And that's going to be very interesting how everything will pretty much come to a close. Okay, well, if I would have to give this a score, I think I'd give it like maybe 7.5 out of 10. Like if I'm on a good day, I'll give it an 8. On a bad day, I'll give it a 7. You know, it's not one of those phenomenal games. It definitely is not, at least not to me. Resident Evil 7, personally for me, was definitely a better game comparing to this. Again, that's just my opinion. Resident Evil 2 Remake definitely surpasses this game for sure, at least to me. Well, this Village is definitely better than Resident Evil 3 Remake. Well, that's just my opinion. Tell me down in the comments as well, guys. What did you think of the Resident Evil Village? And what do you want to see in the coming, what's next for Resident Evil 9? Again, I'm not talking about the remakes, but I'm talking about the 9th Resident Evil. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting. Alright, well, thank you so much for watching, guys. Like and subscribe. And yeah, as always, have a good one.